Art, I don't want to alarm you.
燃えてきたー
Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us.
Shuriken Sentai Ninninger!
What's up everyone, I am the Kaiju no Kami and this is my review of Shuriken Sentai Ninninger.
5 years ago, audiences were treated to another ninja-themed Sentai show that once again pitted the ninja team against Youkai, known as Shuriken Sentai Ninninger. It was nothing groundbreaking, but Toei promised there was going to be a lot of new ideas utilizing Ninninger, as they had hired new stuntmen to elevate the fight choreography from wireworks to being able to naturally show off what types of acrobatics the human body was capable of achieving. They also decided that the Ninjers would no longer try to hide in the shadows, but instead go all out in the public.
忍びなれども忍ばない手裏剣戦隊忍者
Although I am trying to figure out how you can really be hidden when you have giant monsters and giant robots destroying the city. Granted, in Hurricaneger they were erasing people's minds, but still, how did the city get repaired? How did no one ever notice this? So, can Ninninger elevate itself past its predecessors, or should this one have remained hidden? Let's kick this review off to find out.
The Heroes.
Like a few of the Sentai series before it, the Ninjers are all family members. However, unlike the other series, only 2 of them are actually siblings. The rest are cousins.
Nevertheless, the setup is that the Ninninger's grandfather, Yoshitaka Igasaki, played by beef fighters Takashi Sasano, defeated the villains over 400 years ago using a weapon known as the En Shuriken, and he went on to be called the Last Ninja.
予言通り妖怪になって復活した騎馬鬼を封印して決戦を終わらせたってのが俺たちのじいちゃん
In the present day, our quintet must defend the world from the yokai menace once more, while also striving to become the next Last Ninja. In order to do this, they must ascend their grandfather's skills, but alas, there can only be one.
Kind of like Highlander, just without all the decapitations and fun. Sort of.
Our obnoxiously loud and annoying team leader is Shunsuke Nishikawa's Takaharu Igasaki. As I just said, Takaharu is very annoying as he can do whatever the plot requires and seems to know this. It doesn't help that everything revolves around him. Early on in the show, he gets injured, but despite this, he goes out into battle headstrong, and when our 6th Ranger attempts to stop him, he reveals the rest of his team is waiting for him as they know they cannot beat the villains without him.
あいつら俺を待ってんだよ俺がおとなしく寝てると思うか
思いません
言わなくてもわかる
That right there tells me the show is written for Takaharu to be the sole hero, while everyone else is just a second-string player. He's also the oldest of the group, despite acting the most immature of them all, which is also frustrating.
これは俺とあいつの戦いだ
As if his I'm better than everyone else attitude is not bad enough, this bone-cracking nincompoop
忍ぶどころか
That's disgusting.
is the only one of the original 5 Rangers to acquire an upgrade form from a lion spirit.
超絶熱いなこれ
Oh sure, he might share this form with his cohorts, but it is the principle of the matter that, well,
Matters.
this is something that has become a common problem over the last decade's worth of Sentai shows, as the Red Ranger starts becoming the only character that matters, despite the show being called Something Sentai Somethinger. Toei really should just rename the franchise The Red Ranger and His Merry Sidekicks.
Let's go, Sakamoto-chan!
Did I mention that he also comes equipped with his own catchphrase?
燃えてきたー
Prepare to hear this line over and over and over again. And then when you're sick of it, you're gonna hear it some more.
燃えてきたー燃えてきたー燃えてきたー
手裏剣忍法思い込みの術怖くない怖くない怖くない怖くない
He's also quite dumb.
よくわかんないけど俺を騙したらしいな
Takaharu's sister is Fuka. Fuka, portrayed by Yuka Yano, is a high school student who isn't exactly sure what she wants to be when she grows up yet. Nevertheless, she strives to do the best she can as a ninja even if she occasionally messes up. She will often keep her brother in check and tends to others over herself first. One of her best moments is when a monster calls her up trying to trick her into giving up her henshin shuriken like he just did with her brother and finds it harder than expected.
直すにはお前の任手裏剣が必要なんだ
何やってんのもう
今人を起こすからその人に渡してくれ
ちょっと怪我させた人出してその人電話に出してって言ってるの何よりもまず謝らないと
Our third member of the team is Kaito Nakamura's Nagi Matsuo. Nagi is the youngest member of the team who tends to rely on others or textbooks to help him out.
ナギ何やってんの
忍術の傾向と対策ほら参考書読んどいた方が楽でしょ
忍術に参考書なんてあるの
He does a good job at coming up with some new attack combinations as long as the situation is dire or someone else has already given him the idea. Beyond that, he is easily the most underdeveloped member of the team and has the lowest number of episodes revolving around him.
Like, I can't even really remember what episodes truly revolved around just him. I mean, there was the haunted house bit, but that really wasn't his episode. That was a Kasumi episode, but also kind of a Nagi and Kasumi one. So yeah, I'm not sure really which episodes were solely Nagi.
Yakumo Kato is the team's cool-headed member who strives to be better than Takaharu. Until the Youkai revival, Yakumo attended a wizarding school in England, which is how he learned to merge his ninja techniques with magic spells. Gaku Matsumoto is a fine actor for Yakumo, but the man does tend to overact during comedic scenes, as it feels out of place for a character like Yakumo. Actually, that is one major area where this show falters as a whole. The backstory and scenarios have such a serious tone to them that the silliness the series endures really counteracts against them, creating an extremely disjointed series. Anyway, the hard part about Yakumo being a magician is that he is able to cast any type of spell the situation requires in order for the Ninjers to succeed in their endeavors, which can get quite tiresome after a while.
どうすればよいのですか
何をバカなこと俺が教えると思うか
ダウダウタイ
アクセルに手裏剣が刺さっているそれを取ればいい
There's a few other annoyances revolving his character, which I'll save for later when I talk about my least favorite episodes of the series.
You've got a friend in me You've got a friend in me
The final family member of the Igasaki clan is Kasumi Momochi.
モモ忍者
Kasumi Yamaya brings a lot of personality to this college student and team eventer, easily making her my favorite of the group.
からくり任意翻訳どっから出したのこれがあれば言葉を持たない機械や動物と意思の疎通ができるんです
そんな便利なものいつの間に
いますよ
これは私の放っている電波が乱される
She is an extremely confident woman, conniving, tricking the yokai into thinking she is afraid of ghosts at one point.
もはやかすみちゃんは怖いものなんてないよねまさか私にだって怖いものはありますよ幽霊です
She also does not like losing. There is a moment in the series where she was outsmarted that spawned a scene like this. I think my favorite part about the scenario is when the other rangers retort with this.
かすみちゃん実はすっごく怒ってる
も しれない忍ばず
While I can't say their personalities and development grip me in this show, I must admit that I really like their costumes. They look pretty striking, especially the Shuriken styled helmets. I also feel like they have a perfect balance of black, white, and the respective colors. Alternatively, their weapons are beyond basic. They're all weird ninja styled swords, and a few have some other weapons, nothing that stands out as unique or interesting.
なんだ 新しい妖怪が生まれたようだな
Even their finisher is pretty uninspiring.
To no surprise, Ninninger features a sixth ranger, who actually shows up earlier than usual, episode 10. Not only does this take away from developing the synergy between the core team, but it also makes the show fall into a status quo slump much sooner than normal. At least when sixth rangers showed up in the second quarter, we were given ample time to enjoy the starting team, learning their individualities, however bland or interesting. Now, one could argue that bringing in the sixth ranger earlier on could break up the Sentai formula, which is a fair point. However, in this case, all it does is hinder the sixth ranger into just being another one of Takaharu's lackeys by the middle of the second quarter. And what is our sixth ranger's name? It is the American Kinji Takagawa.
Wait, that's not an American name.
It seems like they are trying to recreate Jiraiya from Kakuranger by having Hideya Tawada play a Japanese American who was born and bred in the US until his father and older brother were killed by a werewolf yokai. This act led him on a quest of vengeance that brought him to Japan to acquire the End Shuriken so he could kill the murdering yokai and resurrect his family.
あの喋り方も変わってるしさ。
落語や時代劇があっしの日本語の教科書でございましたからね。
He also loves to take selfies with yokai in order to show his kills, since he did take up a job as a yokai hunter before joining with the Ikasakis as a Ninninger.
Hey, cheese!
Cassie wins. Fatality.
Oh, and should I mention that his henshin device is in the form of a cheeseburger?
Shuriken change.
His weapon is a guitar, and he even comes packaged with his own theme music.
Talk about Americanizing your American into a stereotypical American. Can you taste the Americanization in this one? Okay. I'll stop now.
When he first comes to Japan, he does act as a rival against the Ninjers, as their grandfather told him he would have to beat his grandkids before he would be willing to make him his student, which leads into a daily assassination attempt on Takaharu. Fortunately, it doesn't last too long, but it does get boring after a while. Kinji does manage to acquire his own upgrade form during the second half of the show, Our heroes are also mentored by Takaharu and Fuka's father, Samuji. Toshihiro Yashiba plays this man who has lost his ninpu capabilities early on in life, which is why he believes his father looks down upon him as being worthless.
わしが教えなかったのはお前に忍びの才能が足りなかったからただそれだけのこと
He is naive, but good-hearted at the same time, as he will help his family out when necessary despite not having any abilities. Lastly, the show is full of actors we know and love, such as Ultraman Jeets Chihiro Yamamoto and Go-Busters Ryoma Baba.
生徒たちにまだ火炎の術を教えてないのかい。次の授業ですぐ教えなさい。
でもこの子たちに火炎の術はまだ危険かと思います。
そんな恐れを教師が抱いていたらダメだろう。
Not to mention that we are treated to a few previous Rangers such as Ninja Red, Hurricane Red, Shurikenger, and Maji Yellow. Of course, this also caused confusion with people as due to this, well, and Gokaiger. Some believe every Sentai series to take place in the same universe, even though they are each in their own universes. While you could argue for Maji Yellow being Yakumo's teacher, Hurricaneger most definitely does not, as the Shurikenger found in the show is the one who died in Hurricaneger instead of the reborn kid from the 10 years later movie.
忍者の名誉を守る委員会からユウたちを鍛えるために冬季講習にやってきた。
And then there's also the fact that the Kakurangers had sealed the yokai away in their time, whereas the yokai in the Ninninger universe were beaten by Yoshitaka 400 years ago. Honestly though, it's best not to think about it, as these days Toei cares more about fan service than telling a competent tale.
But wait! That's not all! For your viewing pleasure, we are throwing in one more guest star!
どころか暴れるで。
Get away! Okay, thank you!
The villains.
As I've already mentioned, our villains are yokai, which are led by an evil samurai clan known as the Kiba Oni Army Corps.
We have their leader, Gengetsu Kiba Oni, who doesn't actually physically show up until episode 45, so there's not much I can say about him.
Well, that's really just because there's nothing to talk about as far as characterization goes, not for spoiler reasons. He's just evil. Ooh.
He exists! And that is all there is to it. He makes Dakoku look deep. At least Dakoku being an alcoholic was a far greater character trait than what Gengetsu has. Gengetsu has nothing. He's just there because the heroes can't fight air.
Sounds pretty lame.
Next up is his wife Ariaki no Kata.
Ariaki no Kata?
Youkai!
Her greatest triumph is being voiced by Sailor Moon herself, Katano Mitsuishi.
こんな無礼な忍者どもに構ってる暇はない。子供の恐れをもっと集めて、わらわに献上するの。
I mean, I guess she does have a pseudo conflict with Kasumi. However, the extent of her character is that she lives and dies for Gengetsu. She does give birth to another soldier, Mangetsu, whose major character trait is kicking the crap out of his mother.
このまま俺様の邪魔をしやがってこんな。
おやめくだされ若君。奥方様をあちらにするとは。
Wow! Such a great family of villains. The days of the Saima clan are long gone.
Next up is Kiba Oni's strategist, Masakage Sugimori. I do like Sugimori, though that is mostly because he is voiced by Frieza, Ryusei Nakao.
焦るな。これは序の口。これで奴らは油断したはずじゃ。我らをアジトに案内してくれるものは別に。
Well, and he does do a hell of a lot more than everyone else, and shows off his best Shang Tsung impersonation. It's too bad they kinda just make him a lesser version of one of Hurricaneger's villains though. Lastly, there is the first general, Raizo Gabi. He takes up a rivalry with Takaharu because of course he does. Beyond that,
well, as I said, he's the first general.
He is voiced by Hibiki and Kiva's Kenji Matsuda.
できんね。俺の仕事が戦場にあることは親方様もご存知のこと。
Thankfully, there is one villain that has a purpose, and that is Izayoi Kiwiman. Kiwiman was a former student of Yoshitaka who turned to the dark side for some cookies. I mean, because he wanted the end Shuriken for himself. Thus, he turned himself into a fox demon. He becomes a major pain in the ass for the Ninjers throughout the show, offering to help Kinji with his revenge problem, and is the one who makes the monsters grow big by utilizing a mallet and a forbidden Shuriken. Some of you may recognize his voice actor as being Megumi Han, daughter to the legendary Keiko Han. Some of her roles include being the voice of Sayla in Gundam Origin, Tatami Nakagami in My Hero Academia, and Kagari Shina in Steins Gate Zero.
そういうことなら戦うしかないだろ。
まあ死に急ぐなよ、ラスト忍者の孫。
So what about the yokai? How are they? Are they scary?
Remember when the yokai in Kakuranger were terrifying and wanted to chop children's heads off and sell their meat to other yokai for food? Yeah, well, here we get this.
お前ら忍者なんて妖怪の足元にも及ばないのだ。お前たちのことを言って
And get used to seeing this cat a lot, because he appears in the show a lot.
The cat came back the very next day. The cat came back. We thought he was a goner.
The yokai in this series are not even remotely scary, not remotely threatening, and come off like an utter joke at times. It doesn't help that they're pretty forgettable too, thanks to being just your normal, typical yokai, such as an umbrella, a kettle, a tengu, and this raccoon dog.
タヌキじゃなくてムジナですがね。
行けタヌキ。
ムジナですがね。
望むところだ、タヌキ野郎。
There's even an arc where 3 Western yokai fly in from Europe.
Yes, and I mean fly in.
And the show makes it sound like these creatures are gonna be a big deal. Well, there's 3 Western yokai, so it adds up to 3 episodes.
Okay, technically 4, since there's a clip show after the second episode, but really just 3.
I am so glad they did all this hoopla with this group coming in at Ariaki's request, which made it sound like it was going to lead to something grand, but nope, it doesn't.
さっさと恐れの力を集めるのじゃ。フランケンの二の舞になるつもりかい？
怒ってはせっかくの美貌が台無しというもの。
They are nothing more than generic monsters of the week. I mean, I guess you could say the werewolf did something extraordinary since he was the one that killed Kinji's dad and brother.
妖怪ハンター順次滝川礼二滝川の親子を覚えてございませんか。
俺が葬った妖怪ハンターなど月のクレーターの数ほどいるんだ。名前などいちいち覚えているわけねえだろ。
And there is something else that occurs with Kinji 10 episodes later. Still, for the most part, they are just as much of a waste as the rest of the villains in the show. The foot soldiers are just a bunch of blue armored looking samurai called Hito Karage. Kiwiman does also acquire his own foot soldiers for a couple episodes, but they're hardly worth mentioning. Oh, and unlike Junior and Kakuranger, who is quite badass, the Gashadokuro here are relegated to merchandise managers whenever the show doesn't have a monster grow big for one reason or another.
ガシャドクロ召喚の術。
It's so lame.
The Mecha.
I will give this show some credit. It doesn't try to go too overboard with its mecha.
The mecha is a bit odd though. Yoshitaka created them with the assistance of aliens using alien technology.
おじい様が宇宙人と交信したとおっしゃっていたのはこういうことだったのですね。
The show never bothers to explore that aspect. This aspect isn't even brought up again at the halfway point when the Rangers have to create their own mecha.
魂が宿らないってことは何かが間違ってるんです。おじい様のやり方と。
It could have added some nice mythology the show was severely lacking, especially considering the mecha was sentient to the point where it could even pout.
怖い。このまま忘れられていくのが怖いのに、そんなこととはひどい。
Not sure if I should be raging because of how freaking stupid that is, or praising for how cool it is for doing something original.
Alas, that would require 2010's Toei to put effort into their Sentai shows, so that is all I have to talk about on the matter. Our first set of mecha forms Shuriken, which is made up of a humanoid machine, a dog, a train, a dragon, and a dump truck. There's nothing too exciting when dealing with the mecha, but I do like how Takaharu's bot sits in the chest area as if the rest of the body were a suit a la Aliens. He can also interchange his positions with Yakumo's dragon. They do acquire some auxiliary units, an elephant, a UFO, and a surfing bot.
Hold on a minute. A surf ninja?
New Line Cinema presents an awesome, rippin', totally stoked.
Get on with it.
New movie, Surf Ninjas.
Wow. I never thought I would ever get to make a reference to surf ninjas. That is cool. What next? 3 ninjas? Oh, wait.
Anyway, this trio of mecha is so pointless that even the show forgot they existed for half of its episode count.
I know I did until they appeared in like episode 42, 41. Whichever one it was like, oh yeah, there's auxiliary mecha in this show. Cool.
Kinji's mecha includes another humanoid bot named Rodeo Maru and a bison-shaped motorcycle.
Big Wheel by Marx.
Together they form Bison King, which is of course a cowboy-looking thing. He too can combine with Shuriken to form an even stronger combo, but that's not all. They can even create an even bigger, better overkilling machine by attaching it to a lion mech known as Lion Ha-Oh. The cool thing about Lion Ha-Oh is that we actually get to see his spirit take on the form of a human, and he is played by one of the franchise's veteran singers, Yukio Yamagata. Yamagata has sung many songs of the show, including the opening theme to Gao Ranger, the Time Shadow song in Time Ranger, Akiba Ranger's opening theme, and many others. Naturally, he also sings his own theme song for this show. The final mech of the series is the one the Rangers built themselves and then merged with to activate similarly to the way the Kakurangers accessed Kakure Daishogun. Gekiatsu Daio is its name, and it is compiled of the commonly known mythical beasts of China, the phoenix, azure dragon, tortoise, and a white tiger, along with a shark and a panda. Overall, while I'm not a fan of the mecha, they could be worse. Much, much worse. Sadly, the mech battles aren't all that intuitive, especially since a lot of them feel like they're forced in and they don't belong. There are some nice looking miniatures, so that's cool. The effects add music.
Honestly, there's really nothing for me to discuss with the effects, as they're pretty basic and standard fare for Sentai.
Sure, they're on par with what Sentai was doing at the time, but after seeing the effects work in the Ultraman shows that came in the same time period, the ones in Ninninger just seem to be lacking. It doesn't help that despite all of Toei's hype about getting new stuntmen, the fight choreography is dull and features a heavy amount of CGI that is meant to enhance the attacks. I think that is the biggest disappointment of all though, as we had some truly top-notch fight scenes in Shinkenger, well this one just half-asses it. The best battle sequence and camera work of the entire show is actually featured in the second clip show episode. It's also the only fight sequence that I could remember after I watched it when it first aired, and now I know why, as it is the only one worth a damn. Speaking of clip shows, Takaharu does have a cool Ultraman growing big sequence in the first one. there is only a single sunset battle in the entire series. At least it does look gorgeous. Thankfully, I am able to praise the base for the Kiba Oni, as it's very stylish by being in a dark room with lit up screens and blue lighting.
誰だ貴様は。
お忘れですか。私は騎馬鬼玄月様が故障。いざよい九右衛門でございまする。
Now that's really cool.
Even the music to the show is unimpressive. I mean, it's good, sure, and yet forgettable. Kosuke Yamashita was probably not the best pick for a ninja-themed show, considering he has done music for comedy-based anime series like The Wallflower, Hanayori Dango, and Smile.
我ら騎馬鬼家が南蛮妖怪に頼るとはなんかわしや。
Okay, maybe that isn't fair to say, as he also did the music to Maji Ranger and Kamen Rider Gaim, and those are fine, but when I think of ninjas, or more specifically, a third Sentai series revolving around ninjas, I think there should have been more traditional sounds involved.
Or maybe there were and I just forgot about them? Highly unlikely.
Whatever the case may be, the music didn't blow me away. At least, the in-show music. The opening and closing themes, however, kick all kinds of ass. Both are very catchy and energetic, elevating your enthusiasm for the show more than it provides. Their names are Saike Ninninger, which was performed by Yohei Onishi, while Daki Ise did Nanja Manja Ninja Matsuri. The episodes.
While I may not have found Ninninger to be as painful to sit through as I did with Goanger, like Goanger, there really weren't any episodes that truly blew me away.
If I had to pick a favorite episode, it would be the Spring Ninja Festival, which features Ninja Red and Hurricane Red. Honestly, the only reason I have picked this one is because it made me wish I was watching one of those shows instead.
人に隠れて悪を切る。人も知らず、世も知らず、影となりて悪を打つ。
Well, that, and we do get a nice line from Sasuke insulting Takaharu.
忍びなれども忍ばない？そんなこと言ってるようじゃ、到底本物の忍者にはなれないぞ。
That alone is worth the price of admission.
As for my least favorite episode, well, I'm gonna pick from a trilogy of episodes here, as they are all pretty damn bad, and they all revolve around Yakumo. They are the yokai Yakumo love, the ninja that loved Yakumo, and the little witch that likes Yakumo. All three of them are just downright dreadful to sit through, and as I said, Matsumoto just does not seem to be able to handle doing comedy very well. Just seeing him pine over a yokai because it was his lawnmower seems very out of character. And then we have this other episode where the yokai falls in love with Yakumo over his bravery.
どうして命をかけてそんな忍びうちを追ったことないなんて素敵なお方
The last one features a girl from the wizarding school he went to coming to Japan to find out when he is coming back, which is the one that features Maji Yellow, who doesn't even join in on the fight, rendering his cameo moot.
Nah, that's not right.
There are a lot of other subpar episodes to be had. Regardless, this trilogy was without a doubt the worst the show had to offer. the movies and specials.
Ninninger has way too many movies and specials for its own good. I liked it better when things were kept simplistic and there was like maybe one movie and a versus movie and that was it. Now it's just getting way too overboard with side stories and post-show movies and all this crap. Oh.
The first is, of course, the summer theatrical film, which features the Rangers having to save a king who has taken on the form of a dinosaur from an evil villain. The movie feels a lot like it is just repeating the same plot than Shuriken movie beat for beat, especially when the king is returned to normal Super Mario 3 style and they acquire the dinosaurs and auxiliary mech. The only parts I really liked was when the king made his own pun.
どうやらダメ殿様のようでございますね。
お、わかってるな青年。俺、ダメ人間。いや、ダメ恐竜。
And then when Kasumi acted like a ghost for a quick second. After that was, of course, the Versus movie with Tokuanger. In this one, the Niningers are nearly captured by an evil scientist through a series of dream worlds. Luckily, the Tokuagers are there to rescue them, only they fail at saving Takaharu.
Is that a failure, though?
Takaharu's soul is transferred into an evil clone and a battle ensues.
I wish that was so true.
The Tokuagers and Niningers also have to take on the generals from Tokuanger as they're back because of course they are. However, I had no idea they were a bunch of bumbling idiots as they seem much more serious in the episodes I saw of their show.
Oh, 美しい。大丈夫か美しい娘子。この霧隠れネロ才蔵が助けてやるぜよ。
Also, I should mention that our movie's villain actually has a human form, making him the only Ninninger villain to not just be a costumed monster.
僕は忍者が大好きすぎてね、伝説の忍者たちの闇クローンを作っちゃったんだ。僕ってばすっごい才能。
A new mech is created and the Duogers show up for a quick scene.
とっととぶっ倒そうぜ。
確認した方がいいかも。すいません。悪者ですか？
Which was clearly written before their character traits were.
While this one is a bit better than the last few Versus films I have sat through, I just don't understand why Toei decided to move a series of movies that struggle to fulfill a 45-minute runtime into hour-long features. It really slows the pacing down when it was already quite slow before.
Shut up and take my money!
Moving on, we have a movie called Ninnin Girls vs. Ninnin Boys, which is set 2 years after the show's ending. Here, we finally get to meet Takaharu and Fuka's mother, who has decided to turn the girls into an idol superhero group and deems the men unfit to use the Ninninger brand.
It's a feminist SJW dream come true.
The girls even get their own anime ability.
What the hell was that?
I was ready to turn this thing off 4 minutes in due to how annoying it was, and it never got better over the remaining 50-something minutes.
There was at least one bright spot. This.
Oh, and Megumi-han takes on the role of playing a girl who can transform into a 7th Ninninger. Next, there was a team-up episode with Kamen Rider Drive. That way it felt more like an episode of Drive that featured the Niningers rather than a crossover. It also seemed like this was just to advertise another movie as it ends up with the whole plot revolving around
surprise!
Shocker.
Shocker again, huh? Okay, cool.
In the end, it was pretty lackluster.
どうしたブレン。
ロボです。今巨大なロボが。
And finally, there was a DVD special with Takaharu and Kinji having a modeling contest that led into fighting a bunch of yokai, including the grunts from both Kakuranger and Shurikenger. And what may be the second best fight sequence of the entire series. It was dumb, but dumb fun.
Overall, Ninninger isn't the worst Super Sentai show I've ever sat through, though it is up there. It just doesn't do anything extraordinary compared to its ninja-themed predecessors. Additionally, Takuharu is just unbearable to deal with. Thus, I am going to be giving Ninninger a generous 2 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. Unless you must watch every Sentai series, or you really want to see the source material for what Power Rangers Ninja Steel was based on, there is no reason to watch this show at all. Go watch Kakuranger instead. It's much, much better and well worth your time. Until next time,
bye.
What's wrong?
I'm a frog.
僕ダンプカーなんで